Hey friends, here are exciting places that you should never visit. Make sure if you go to number 2 that you bring your brown pants.
Number 10. As hard as it is to believe, there are still areas of the world that are uncontacted.
One of those places is the small, heavily forested island, North Sentinel Island, in the Indian Ocean.
The inhabitants of this island have made it explicitly clear that they have no intentions of playing nice with outsiders and aren't in the market for new friends. In 1896, an escaped convict washed to the shores of North Sentinel Island. He received a harsh welcome.
He was later found in a makeshift raft with several arrows sticking out of his body. Like Boromir, son!
After a tsunami hit the area in 2004, a helicopter flew over the island to assess the damage. The tribe's people greeted it with stones and arrows.
2 unfortunate fishermen in 2008 got too close to the island and they were permanently dispatched by the tribe.
Most recently, in 2018, a missionary attempted to contact the tribe. He was introduced to the business end of one of their arrows. So best to cross this place off your list of travel destinations. Number 9. Twisted doesn't even begin to sum up the history of the small northern Italian island of Poveglia.
Poveglia Island sits between Venice and Lido, and for centuries has been used as a, how do you put this politely, a nightmare factory for the soon-to-be departed.
During the Roman Empire and the Victorian Era, the island was used to quarantine the victims of the plague in an attempt to protect the rest of the country. Some paranoid communities even got into the habit of shipping away anyone who showed the slightest sign of illness.
So keep that cough to yourself.
Over time, bodies began to pile up on the island, and lots of holes were dug and fires were burned to try to deal with that problem.
It's said that more than 50% of the island's soil is made up of ash from the former inhabitants. Pop quiz, hotshot! Which country do you think is disappearing at the fastest rate? Meaning, which nation has the most people leaving its borders on an annual basis? See if you can guess the correct answer in the comments section and stay tuned to later on in the video for the right answer.
Number 8.
Throw on a beret and grab some freedom fries because next up is France's notorious red zone.
Not all of France is made up of rolling vineyards and Mediterranean coastlines.
In the region of Verdun, there lies 460 square miles of forest that is known by the locals as Le Zone Rouge, but everyone else just calls it the red zone.
During 10 straight months of the First World War, the German and the French forces were locked in a fierce battle in the hills of Verdun.
The estimate is that between 40 and 60 million shells were fired between the two sides, and the barrages could be heard from as far as 100 miles away.
Flash forward to today, and the area has been completely restricted to the public by the French government.
That's because there are still thousands of undetonated shells buried underground, just waiting for some unfortunate person to come along, step on the wrong pressure point, and...
What's more is that the vestiges of this brutal conflict are packed with toxic chemicals that leak into the air and the groundwater. Don't wander these hills because there is a good chance you'll come out in pieces, if at all. Number 7. Somalia is home to the largest coastline in Africa. You can also find great food and good hotel bargains in the beautiful Al Madao Mountains.
However, the one thing you won't find in Somalia is tourists.
At one point in 2004, Somalia's Minister of Tourism claimed that the country hadn't had an officially acknowledged tourist in 14 years. For the last 2 decades, there has been civil unrest in Somalia between as much as 24 different groups. They don't have effective policemen, but they do have pirates.
And these aren't the lighthearted Jack Sparrow pirates. We're talking about the look at me, I'm the captain now type pirates.
The Australian government warns its citizens not to travel to any part of Somalia. You know things are bad if people who spend all day with saltwater crocs and Sydney funnel web spiders are too afraid to visit. Number 6.
On April 26, in 1986, disaster struck reactor number 4 in Chernobyl, in what is now present-day Ukraine.
At first, the Soviet officials tried to hide the cataclysmic events that were unfolding in the town. But soon, radioactive clouds were being detected as far away as Sweden. This was one of the worst cases of radiation leaks in the history of nuclear energy.
The Soviet government ordered that an 18-mile radius around the site of the accident be evacuated, and to this day, much of this exclusion zone is still off limits.
But for some reason, the government decided that they're cool with there being 2 hotels smack dab in the middle of the no-no zone.
Although the hotel staff is only allowed to work there 15 days at a time before rotating out.
According to the hotel websites, you can stay the night and sleep in their iron-starched linens at no extra charge.
Is your skin glowing? No, but I did stay at a Chernobyl Inn Express last night.
Number 5. The New York Times recently reported that when Ed Doring, a doctor from Arizona, accomplished his lifelong dream of summiting Mount Everest, he was greeted with a rude awakening at the top. Climbers were shoving and pushing each other in a struggle to get the perfect selfie. We all know that struggle.
The tippy top of Everest is about the size of 2 ping pong tables, and Ed had to wait 4 hours in a line next to a 1,000-foot drop just to get his turn for a new profile picture.
Recently, to earn more revenue from tourism, Nepal has begun selling more permits to climb Everest, and now there are so many climbers that getting to the top is like waiting in line for the world's windiest nightclub.
In this last year alone, 11 people have met their end while attempting to scale the mountain.
It's a great option if you're looking to cut something from your travel list. Number 4. In the Russian hills of Bashkortostan, there is a tiny village that is shrouded in mystery.
According to Russian officials, Mezgorya is just a mining town. But the skeptical global community is calling shenanigans on that claim.
The intel that we have on the town is that it is home to a large nuclear facility. It's rumored to have an enormous shelter with enough space and supplies to hold 60,000 people for months.
It is believed that this place is a strategic part of the Russian game plan if the world goes to pieces.
No one is certain about what kind of meddling is happening in this town, and the Russians are extremely hostile to anyone who tries to enter. Number 3.
There is an island off the coast of Iceland that no one can enter and didn't exist until 1963.
It's called Surtsey, and no, it didn't have the world's most annoying sun. It formed a little over 50 years ago when a huge volcano began erupting and didn't stop for 3 years. Now, the area is used for scientific research. The opportunity for scientists is to monitor this blank slate of land and see how ecosystems develop from scratch. Because they don't want any human impact, the Icelandic government has forbidden all except a handful of scientists to enter. Each scientist is carefully checked before entering, so they won't carry in any foreign seeds or material. But they still messed it up because one of them accidentally brought a tomato seed that made it onto the island and started to sprout. When they figured out what it was, they immediately removed the plant.
Who carries a tomato seed in their pocket? You had one job. It's answer time. The country with the most Irish exits is not Ireland, but Ukraine, with a whopping 8% annual loss in population per year. Better book your trip to Kiev quick before the place disappears.
Number 2.
Zion National Park in Utah is known for its massive canyon, its beautiful waterfalls, and its wonderful hikes.
But the hike that really rises above the rest is called Angel's Landing. Picture this. You begin the hike on a wide and well-maintained trail. The path then starts to climb via a series of 21 switchbacks that lead up the side of the canyon. Then, all of a sudden, the ground on both sides of the path falls away and you've got a 1,500-foot drop on both sides. The 3-foot wide path then continues onward and upward for another half mile.
I was peer pressured into doing this hike a few years back, and it was absolutely treacherous.
8 people have plummeted down the 270 million year old rock face over the last few years. Here's a pic of me at the top. Don't let that smile fool you, I was hysterical.
By the way, follow me on Instagram, Vin541. I have great content.
They've installed chains in parts of the hike that you hold on to as you climb. But it gets real hairy when you have 2 lanes of traffic using the same chain. Also, it's like half international tourists up there, so no one is speaking the same language. It's a nightmare. Before we move on, be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell button to get notified of new videos, and we always appreciate a big thumbs up. Number 1.
About 25 miles off the coast of Brazil sits a notorious island that no local would dare explore.
That's because it has 1 venomous snake per square foot. This shiver-inducing island is known as Ilha de Kumada Grande, and it is so treacherous to set foot on that the Brazilian government has forbidden anyone to go there.
The source of all the peril is that this island is teeming with golden lancehead snakes.
These are a species of pit viper and one of the most devastating snakes in the world. The lancehead can grow up to 1.5 feet, and it's estimated that there are approximately 4,000 of them on the island.
These little terrors are so powerful that if you get bitten by one, then you have about an hour before it's lights out.
Legend has it that the snakes were originally introduced by pirates to protect the treasure that they had buried on the island. But regardless of how they got there, the viper's venom has shown potential in helping to combat heart problems, which has led to a black market demand for the venom. Some lawbreakers can't resist the lure of money that comes with obtaining a vial of this potent substance.